Howdy, all you delicious people. I am here today to review Superman and Lois Episode 9. So, remember when these Superman and Lois episodes were good? Remember when you're like, man, I actually want to go and watch these episodes? It kind of feels like this episode we have to forcibly get a consolation prize. I feel like this episode might be a tiny bit better than last week's, but that's not saying much. Really, we have a kind of a rerun, quite a little bit of last week, where really, like, we had some interesting things going on with Clark or Superman fighting a Kryptonian. In this episode, we just still have eventually Superman barely fighting Kryptonians, but we just kind of just get a consolation prize in this episode. Really, nothing really all that like there's basically almost same things going on from previous episode as this one. Man, are they really pushing that Sarah Cushing character? Man, are they pushing her? Like, I don't know why. It seems like we have to try to nix the fact that, like, yeah, we have really tried to push a lot with Jordan lately. So now we have to switch and more try to have Jonathan have much more story, and Lois like actually trying to do some things in this show, where we really have kind of Clark, or really just Superman mostly in this episode. He's kind of there, but what he does, I'm not excited about. Like, really, the goofy story of this episode really ties from the ending of the last episode, because really we had this Kryptonian who was to have a mask on and to spray this inhaler-like substance that Superman got gassed with. And basically, from that episode to now this, we have to show the side effects of that weapon, to where we are to show that Superman is, and that sickness is, I guess, transferring over to Jordan. And so, really, we have to show both of these people getting sick. Isn't that great? Man, I can't wait to see Superman and Jordan sick. Man, is that... The only people that have superpowers in this show, like, yeah, they're having superpower side effects. That's great. So, going into this, we are to also really build up Morgan Edge to be a much more relevant character in this show, because really he just was a person that's like, yeah, I'm throwing money around and I might be mining for kryptonite, but not everybody knows why. Well, now we are really starting to figure out in this episode why Morgan Edge is doing the things that he's doing. We really have that whole episode where John Irons was to come in, or was to end off of, mentioning that there could quite possibly be a Kryptonian army brewing, and now we are starting to see real, true effects of that in this episode. So, I would say that this episode could be a little bit better than the last, but really, it's kind of a toss-up in all brutal honesty. If people didn't like the episode of last, they might not enjoy this one. So with that said, I think it's about that time for roughly me to just bust out into spoilers. Really, just because in all actuality, this episode was just not, like, I was just like, man, like, you wait a week for this, like, kind of thing. Like, like, I think in the early stages, like I was actually like, wow, I was really impressed by this show, and then now like it's one of those where it's like, well, like I guess if it's on, I guess I'll watch it, kind of thing. Like that's how Superman and Lois is now. Like it's gotten to the point of boredom, and I can't wait for them to eventually just wrap this show up. Whether it's going to be 12 episodes or 20 some odd episodes, I don't know. If they continue on the pattern of where they're going to go on to, I don't see. Well, CW will probably greenlight this show regardless because they greenlit 2 seasons of Superwoman or Super or Batwoman. Yeah, there were that. And how garbage was that show? How crushing down in the ratings was Batwoman for the CW? Horrific, but they still reviewed that show regardless. So yeah, going on into this, I really just was like, man, like so disappointed. I'm kind of very much interested in just kind of going and watching any other Superman thing. Can I go and watch some Superman movies or some animated things? Because some people might be excited and much more interested in watching a Superman movie that they hold dear rather than like what is the like, hey, it's Superman in Smallville show, where it's like, yeah, we like. I remember Smallville and at least every single story, like everything going on with Lana in the Smallville show. Like there was a reason for every bit of any side story in every episode. Where, as in this show, it just kind of feels like you can either take it or leave it. Like it really doesn't have, that. Like, what is the overall point of like? Oh, so Jordan is going to miss out on something, and Sarah might just not like Jordan after that. That's got to be some sad things. It's not like Sarah is going and finding out Jordan's secret anytime soon, so that would actually have been a much more exciting thing. But we are starting to really running out of reasons for Jordan to not show up for Sarah's thing or to not be at school quite so often. And so really we really have to just kind of say that Sarah is at some point, if she was getting very close to giving Jordan a little kissy poo, man, has that just been just gone and over with. So we're gonna be doing the will they won't they with Jordan and Sarah through this entire season because they have nothing better to do. We also seem to have Jordan, who seems to be having a girlfriend at Smallville. Because I don't know what the status is from his girlfriend in Metropolis. Maybe they're complicated. Maybe they're a civil union. Maybe they're dead and I don't remember, because heaven forbid I care about Jordan's love life. If anything, yeah, like we also have to have, tying in this episode, the relationship between Lois Lane and her father. And so, man, is that just exciting that we have to kind of bust that out and kind of mention that within this episode. How really we are to really see Sam Lane, who is to really and truly just be stacking up the kryptonite. And now, like, we are seeing the after effects of that Sam stacked up the kryptonite for no apparent reason because there was no real true threat. But eventually there will be. Eventually there has to be, and that kind of shows within this episode. So, with that said, I think it's about time to bust out the double five territory to go into spoilers about this movie. Or episode. So spoiler time. It's about the time we do spoil this episode. That was weird. So let's go on. So Superman is to eventually get sick, and so is Jordan. So we have Superman who is to go and fight crime all the way out in Mexico, where he's supposed to speak the Espanol. And so we have Superman who is trying to fight a bank robbing crime, and he is to. Am I having a heart attack? Like, we have it to where, like, Superman is, like, I guess bizarrely, like, getting out of, or being knocked out of super breath while he's consistently doing his super speed like maneuvers to eventually have him consistently being taken out by a shotgun, repetitiously getting hit with these bullets, and eventually Superman is to fall over and eventually die. Credits roll. This show can no longer be Superman and Lois. Goodbye, everybody. We're done. No. We have Superman who eventually gets pelted with bullets, shotguns, machine guns, AK-47s, all kinds of... Like, this guy is just firing into Superman like a million bullets into Superman, and it's all bouncing off him, and this guy is completely and utterly wasting his time. Like, how many more guns could I find? Hey, buddy, throw your gun at me, and I'm gonna pop, 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 pop. Superman, because I have nothing better to do. We have 10 minutes to waste in this sequence. So, we eventually have Superman who's going, I guess I'm awake now. And so, Superman takes care of this guy, and so we end up having the security guard who's like, hey, man, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. And so we have Superman flying off. So he is to go back home to eventually realize that there is some side effects going on with that whole gassing like thing. Here's the thing also. So we are to have Lois. We are to have Chrissy, who is the Smallville Gazette person, whichever, and we now have Clark, who are all getting their heads together to work on the Morgan Edge thing. They're trying to find every single candidate that is otherwise tied to the Morgan Edge program and see like how they can factor into what Morgan Edge is doing. We have us find out that Morgan Edge is doing the Lex Luthor thing in Smallville. We have Morgan Edge who is going and transferring, or actually, like, not what Lex is doing, really what General Zod did in Smallville, which I'm assuming that's who Morgan Edge probably is in this show, is probably General Zod. So we're going to get General Zod for, what, the 80th time? Great. Because we have Morgan Edge who is going and transferring Kryptonian spirits into these candidates, into these people. We have Morgan Edge who is persuading every single one of these people that, hey, like, I can make your lives better. I can make you better. I can give you a ton of money. How about that? Like, you won't have to worry about banks foreclosing on anything of your life again. Like, I am just gonna change your life for you. If that'll be okay, all you have to do is just say yes. So, we eventually have Lana, who is to start finding out things for Lois. And so eventually Morgan Edge gets a whiff of that. And eventually Morgan is to call Lana into his office and like, you know what, it feels like there's a rat in our midst, and like I want to try to find out like who it is, and I think it's probably you. And so we have Morgan Edge who is going to offer Lana the same thing that he is offering to everybody, so that way I guess he can control Lana and have her stop doing this whole ratting Morgan out to both Superman and Lois. So we eventually have Clark, who is to see one of the candidates in the diner and talk about things. And one of the candidates is talking to Ken. It's like, hey, maybe like if you don't have a job right now, maybe you should apply with what Morgan Edge is offering. And Ken's like, nah, like I think I'm fine on the farm, kind of thing. I like, but hey, like if things are working out for you, that's great. Even though who you're working with is a villain. Just so you know, just so you're like, Ken doesn't say that, but you can just kind of tell he wants to. So we push on and we have this woman who is getting put through this machine. And we have this candidate who is asking Leslie, well, hey, will this procedure hurt? And Leslie is like, oh no, it won't hurt at all because it doesn't matter because you're going to be doing this anyways. So that's not exactly what she said, but like that's what she wanted to say. So we just have this person just being sucked in or just put into this machine. And so now we are to have this woman be put through like Captain America, Chris Evans style through this machine, and like lights are going on and she's yelling and screaming. And we eventually find out that ding, toast is done. This woman comes out and she is now a Kryptonian vesseled woman with now a Kryptonian inside of her. Like I'm assuming a lot of other people already are, like Leslie and like Morgan Edge, if not to just say that Morgan Edge is actually probably General Zod. Ding, toast is done. So, since Lana seems to know everything that is going on with this whole Morgan Edge thing, Lois just decides to finally just confront Morgan Edge about it. Run to his office and just say, hey, I know what you're doing with all these people. You're putting Kryptonians inside of them. I know that's what you're doing. And so here is the reason why, let's push on. So, because really, Lois confronts him. Morgan is like, well, you have no real true evidence. No one's going to believe you. Boo-hoo, cried to your mother. Go home. So, and Morgan Edge is right. There's no real true evidence. So, we have Jordan, who is to go with Sarah to be at this talent show. He is supposed to be practicing trying to play the piano while Sarah sings. And we have it to where Jordan is having these bizarrish sneezing fits to where he is sneezing ice out of his mouth. We have it to where I guess Jordan now has ice breath in this episode. So we have Jordan who is repetitiously sneezing and it's coming out ice. So we eventually have Jordan who repetitiously sneezes to the point where he has to pull the Superman button. Just be like, hey, Dad, like, I'm sneezing ice. Look at this. And Clark is like, whoa. So we have Jordan and we have Clark that is to go back to the home. And so Clark is to call Sam Lane and say, hey, man, like, your machine is creating harmful side effects to the machine that you had that you were firing upon. Like, yeah, it hurt both me. It's hurting both me and Jordan. And so, like, now you have to come up with some kind of antidote for this. And Sam is like, well, yeah, we're working on it. Like, oh, we're like, since we find out, we're going to work on it. And so, yeah, Sam Lane, I guess, cannot come up with a real true thing to fix this. Like, he says that they came up with some kind of prototype, but both Clark and Jordan are not there because Sam is taking too long. We have Clark who rushes Jordan to the only Superman hospital, which is the Fortress of Solitude, to where Kal-El is talking to Jor-El, and Jor-El's like, "Yeah, your son is dead. You might as well just bury him now. Like, boo-hoo, you're gonna cry, but just go ahead and just bury him in the Fortress of Solitude. Like, I'll put a tombstone there. He's dead. Like, so, like, that sucks for you, Kent. Well, I guess you're gonna only have one son, I guess. That's too bad. Credits roll. Episode ends. No." We have Kal-El talking to Jor-El, and so Jor-El says, yeah, like, there's a ton of just kryptonite all up in your son, like, all in his lungs. And so we have to laser these kryptonite-like things from out of your son. And Superman is like, whoa! Like, I know you did that to me before, but whoa, Dad! So we have Jordan, who is now going into this part of the Fortress of Solitude, and Clark is going to have to explain now to Jordan, yeah, like, we're probably this fortress is going to have to laser you to death. Hopefully you don't mind, but it's going to save your life, or otherwise, like, you're just not, like, your lungs are going to be toast, buddy. Ding, toast is done. Like your lungs are going to be filled with kryptonite, and you will not be able to breathe anymore, so you will be dead. And so Jordan's like, oh, okay, well, go ahead and just laser me. Hopefully it's not to death, but just go ahead and just take out all the kryptonite that you need. So we have Clark, like, holding hands with Jordan, hugging him, like, having Jordan, like, brace for dear life as he's getting lasered coming from all different sides and directions from this Fortress of Solitude. What a goofy thing to see. And so Jordan eventually seemingly is fine. And so, because it was really interesting when Jordan was to sneeze and his entire lamp just froze. It looked like a really cool visual. And Jordan is like, whoa there, buddy. Somebody's getting a little cold, if you know what I mean. So we have Jordan, who is to get lasered up. While this is going on, we have Sarah, who is going through her talent show, and she now does not have a pianist to play her little ditty, her little song, for the second time in 2 episodes. Isn't that freaking great? So where Jordan fails to show up, we now have her father, Sarah's father, coming in to play the guitar to I guess say, well, I guess he's not a complete horrific of a person, of a dad. So he goes, Kyle, I hope Kyle, Sarah's father. If it's Kyle, then that's great, but who cares? So sadly enough, who cares? Yeah, it is Kyle. So Kyle plays the little ditty for Sarah's song for the second time in 2 episodes. Isn't that great? Sarah must be trying as desperately as possible to get some kind of record deal after this show is over. Or, like, they must have just been like, man, they're really trying to sell this song to iTunes or something somewhere. I don't know what it is with this song. So after this song is over, we have another girl step up there. And this is the daughter of the woman that is of a candidate for Morgan Edge. And so, bizarrely, this girl is to walk off, and we have the Lana family that is just kind of bizarrely, like, confused why this girl tended to walk off. Well, she is to walk off for good reason, because she is going to go and laser beam to death both Lois Lane and Jordan, because Jordan is the only one that's home. So, and plus also Jordan was trying to hit on the girl that was trying to hit on him last week about the whole locker thing. And we have Jonathan who's like, well, hey, how about you and me, do a thing? And this girl is like, yeah, you know what? Like, you're still, like, the new kid here, and I don't date new kids. So once you become the old kid, then I'll kind of like be like, okay, so like once you get another new kid in here, then you'll be the old new kid, and so maybe I'll start seeing you differently. But so we have like the coach of the football team who is giving Jonathan crap because it's like, dude, you can't like, man, you should start learning how to close on a woman if you know what I mean. So, anyways, pushing on. So we have Jonathan and Jordan who come back in the nick of time because we have Lois and we have Jordan who are at home, and Sam was talking to both Lois and Jonathan before this, where Lois is like, you know what? I don't want you to be in my house anymore. If anything, like I understood that your job came first before family, but now like your job is affecting my family. So if anything, like you can leave here and never come back for what I'm concerned. And we have Jonathan eventually also talking to Sam, and like Sam is mentioning that like, hey, you and I are one and the same to Jonathan, and Jonathan's like, well, actually, not really. Actually, we're a little bit different. I actually trust my family where you don't. So, little bit of a difference between the two of us. So, we have Sam who is to go into his car and drive off. Then all of a sudden he is start to see these two people arrive into Lois and Jonathan's home. Technically also Clark's, but it is what it is. So we have Jonathan, or we have Sam who is seeing this, and so luckily he grabbed the right perfect weapon for this whole scenario. So we have Sam going in here, and so he comes in here in just the nick of time because Lois and Jonathan are kind of confused why these people are there, but these Kryptonian vessel people are all just like, well, yeah, I'm just here to kill you and laser you to death. Hopefully you don't mind. And so we have Jonathan and Lois trying to get out of the room of which that they are in, but with these people and their super speed, there's no way to get out of this. So we have Sam coming in, kryptonite guns blazing, and taking both these people down and starting to beat the living crap out of them. And so while Lois and Jordan are running off, Sam is like, go, like, I'm going to protect you. Like, I'm going to try to, like, stall these guys from getting to you. So we have Lois and Jordan making it to the barn because Jonathan has some of John Henry Irons' weapons, some like laser weapons, to, I guess, help them if there are more Kryptonians or any people that are trying to show up to try and stop both Lois and Jonathan. We have Kyle who is to show up here, and like he is to like kind of mention like, hey, like, yeah, like I've been trying to track down that one like candidate girl, and like, you know what, like I'm like I was trying to find out where she was, and I guess it led me to here. Like, so like what's going on, everybody? And so eventually we also have Kyle who switches into him being Kryptonian, and he starts getting his laser on. And so we have Jonathan who ends up shooting him with his Henry Irons laser gun, and Henry ends up getting just shot out, and his ribs hurt. Because eventually we have Kyle who eventually shows back up at Lana Lang's house and mentioning that his ribs hurt and that like he like couldn't figure out what the heck happened. So we eventually now realize that the whole Kryptonian army thing is on, and so we eventually have Superman who is to come in the nick of time to take down all of these Kryptonians. And so, or what is really just the last of these Kryptonians. And we have eventually Lois and Sam kind of making amends, where Sam is like, "Yeah, I couldn't let them hurt my grandson or my baby girl," and so like that's when like Sam and Lois are kind of making and mending fences, just like, "Hey, yeah, yeah, I was never there for you, but I'm here now when it counts." So we eventually have Superman pushing on to eventually go and meet up with Morgan Edge to see like if he's going to be putting on a different kind of suit than he normally has. So and plus Jordan was talking to Jonathan, and Jordan was like, "Oh well, thank God that by the time that we got back home, like I realized that I wasn't going to be the only child." And Jonathan was like, "Ha ha ha ha, yeah, because I have laser guns." And Jordan's like, "Well, do you think Mom is gonna let you keep those laser guns?" And Jonathan's like, "Well, hey, it came in handy." Uh, and so Jordan's like, "Well, yeah, I guess might as well. We might as well have something for Jordan to do." Like I kind of said, like I figured that like Jordan should just become like a kind of weapons guy, or should be tying himself into John Henry Irons somehow with that weaponry, because there's a whole reason why they had him open up that cabinet full of weapons. So I'm assuming at some point that maybe those weapons are eventually going to come more and more into play with Jonathan. Eventually, I'm assuming or assessing like we're going to continue to find just a slew of weapons that we didn't realize that he had, just in case something is to go on. So pushing on, let's go with Superman and the Morgan Edge stuff. So we have Superman confronting Morgan Edge, telling him like, "Yeah, I realize that you are putting Kryptonians into people, and I don't like that." And so we have Superman who is to eventually kind of bum rush Morgan Edge, and Morgan Edge has superpowers, and so we have Morgan Edge who now has a symbol upon his chest, which I'm assuming that's the Zod symbol. And like, yeah, like, well, like, did you think that I was not going to put superpowers in my own self as well as everyone else? Like, dude, I'm the most greediest mother in this town. Like, did you think I was not going to get superpowers? And so we have Morgan Edge calling Superman son, and I'm like, what exactly does that mean? Like, son of Ajala because he's Zod, or what? Like, how many numerous times have they done Zod in so many freaking Superman shows? I'm hoping it's not Zod, but it probably is, because what the heck else could they do with this show? So we have Morgan Edge presenting himself with superpowers to really just say, well, you're not the only cape in town kind of thing. So really, that's just how this episode tends to end, with kind of like Superman and this new Kryptonian / Morgan Edge at odds. So really, we're just going to eventually figure out in the next episode who this person is. The stranger Morgan Edge. So with that said, I think that's all that happened within this episode, so I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.